These my dollars make it hurt. These my dollars make it hurt.
Brice Larson, hear from players, coaches, and experts on the latest news and events surrounding all things Utah Valley sports. Valley Sports Talk is brought to you by Bout Time Pub and Grub in Vineyard. Find them online at bouttimepub.com.
Mike's hot. It's gone into Valley Sports Talk here on ESPN 960. It's the Super Bowl Monday edition of the show. We're going to get after it here on a beautiful Monday morning, live from our Les Schwab Tire studios. I'm Brice Larson, and that is Jordan Vinucci behind the glass as well. Going to be a fun one today. We're going to break down that Super Bowl that happened yesterday, of course. A lot of Super Bowl talk. We're going to go back over our picks and predictions in the Brice is Right coming up around the corner. Probably hour two of the program here. And we'll talk a little bit about how well we did and how well we did not do with some of those prop bets, like the color of the Gatorade, the Reba McEntire over-under, as well as the color of her hat. A lot of things to get into, but we're going to spend the first hour of the show breaking down this Super Bowl and everything that happened in the Super Bowl as well. And we'll chat a little bit about the decisions that were made as the Chiefs end up getting the win in overtime in a bit of an exciting end to a Super Bowl for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think a lot of people thought the same. The first half was a little bit slower, and then the second half picked it up, and we're all happy it went into overtime. At least all of the people who didn't really have a rooting interest were happy that it went into overtime and that we got an exciting finish, because I'll tell you what, the first half of that football game was not so great. It was not a great start to that football game. And so it was a good thing that it went into overtime and we got some excitement there late in that football game as well. So we'll break it down. We'll hear from Patrick Mahomes on Mecole Hardman and whether or not he knew that he actually just won the Super Bowl after that touchdown. We'll also hear from a couple of other guys from that team, possibly Andy Reid, possibly Kyle Shanahan, on the decision to take the football in overtime as well. And we've got a lot of things to go over here with this Super Bowl that ended up happening yesterday. I want to remind you that we're live on the 960 AM dial. So make sure you check us out over the terrestrial radio waves. AM radio still alive. Yes, it is. So check us out, ESPN 960 AM. We're also streaming live on the ESPN 960 mobile application. And then you can find us online streaming over on YouTube as well. So check out the YouTube live stream. You can find us over there at the ESPN 960 YouTube page. Just go to youtube.com/ESPN960 and you will find our YouTube live stream over on the ESPN 960 YouTube page as well. So if you get to your destination, say you're listening into us on the 960 AM dial at the moment, once you get to your destination, whether that's home, whether that's work, you're dropping off the kids at school, wherever you get to, you can continue to watch the show live, whether it's on your smart TV, your phone, your computer, when you head on over to youtube.com/ESPN960 as well. So make sure you go ahead and do that. It'll be archived over there so you can go back and watch it back after the show as well. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Super Bowl, and then we'll also get in a little bit of college basketball today, and we'll likely talk a little bit about the Waste Management Phoenix Open to close out the show as well. There's a couple of funny things that happened there. For those of you that don't know, that's the golf tournament that takes place down in Phoenix this time every single year, and it's one of the wildest and most raucous golf tournaments in the whole season as well. So there's a couple of points and a couple of funny things that ended up happening over the weekend there that I wanted to mention as we go out here today. But it's going to be mainly Super Bowl focused. Going to talk all the football that we possibly can because, man, now the long winter and summer starts to kick in. We've got college basketball the rest of the way. And for you football fans out there, it's probably a little bit of depression. Probably a little bit of depression. You're not going to get multiple football games. You're not going to get a single football game until they start it back up in September. And it's going to be a long time. Long time. You've got the schedule release coming up in April with the draft. And we can talk about some draft things, some free agency you've got along the way as well. But other than that, it's going to be a long time until you see some football. So I hope you enjoyed the Super Bowl yesterday. Let's jump right into it. Let's break it down right here on the program in the opening banter brought to you by our friends at Body Armor.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's begin the show by starting it.
Turn it up. It's Brice's opening banter brought to you by Body Armor.
Body Armor is proud partner with Operation Homefront, a national nonprofit whose mission is to build strong, stable, and secure military families so they can thrive, not simply just struggle to get by in the communities that they have worked so hard to protect. 2024, Body Armor is donating $500,000 to Operation Homefront. Tell military families, go to drinkbodyarmor.com/Operation Homefront. Once again, that's drinkbodyarmor.com/Operation Homefront to learn how to support those who serve. Let's chat a little bit about this Super Bowl that happened just yesterday. And I'll tell you what, the last 24 hours feel like it's just flown by. Like you wake up Super Bowl morning and you have to wait all the way till 4:30 for this thing to even start and get underway. As soon as that thing goes, man, that the time just flies by. I don't know exactly what it is, but the Kansas City Chiefs get the win in overtime, 25-22. And once again, I think your top story coming out of the Super Bowl is Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan, 0-3 in Super Bowls that he has coached. I don't know what the curse is on that man. I don't know what the problem is for him, but when he gets a lead in a Super Bowl, for some reason, cannot hold on to it. Had that 10-3 lead at the half, and the Chiefs storm back in the third quarter. And at one point, you thought when Patrick Mahomes overthrows Travis Kelce, they get the interception, you thought, okay, here we go. Now the 49ers are going to pull away, and they're going to have a pretty solid lead heading into the fourth quarter. They went 3 straight possessions, 3 and out on the offensive side of the football. And one thing that we talked about leading into this game was leaning on Christian McCaffrey in the backfield, not leaning on Brock Purdy and his arm to take you through this football game. There was quite a few opportunities there where you just thought, where is Christian McCaffrey at this point? Why are they not feeding the ball to McCaffrey in the backfield? And I mentioned we talked about this a lot leading up to the Super Bowl. If the 49ers were to get a 10-0 lead, a 10-3 lead, that would be good for the 49ers because then they could kind of pound the rock a little bit more. They wouldn't have to rely on Brock Purdy and his arm. Well, they get up 10-3, they get up 10-0, and there is no Christian McCaffrey in sight. They just continue to throw the football. Christian McCaffrey ran the rock 22 times in that football game. He should have got it 30, 35 times. He had 80 yards. He was averaging 3.6 yards per carry. But at some point in the first half, the man was getting 6 yards a pop. So I'm surprised that there were not only did they not run the football as many times as we thought they were going to, that they just did not try to get the ball to Christian McCaffrey in other ways as well. He did have 8 receptions for 80 yards, and he was averaging 10 yards per reception. But you've got to add more Christian McCaffrey into the mix there. 30, 35 times. This is the last game of the season. You've got to ride your workhorse, especially if it means that he's going to get an opportunity to get his ring at the end of it right there. So I'm sure Christian McCaffrey was like, man, just give me the rock. Just feed me the rock. Let me touch the ball a little bit more. You got to get the ball into your playmakers' hands. I felt like that's what Kansas City was doing really well throughout all of that football game. They were finding their different playmakers. They were drawing things up to get it into their playmakers' hands. On the other side, San Francisco 49ers, man. Good job, Juwan Jennings. But that's not the guy we had on our bingo card making all the plays for the 49ers. We thought it was going to be all Christian McCaffrey. Yeah, he had that touchdown pass from Juwan Jennings, which was a great play design and pretty interesting that they called it up. It worked, man. It worked. It was a great play. And I felt like, and I'll bring in Jordan Benucci here, but it felt like the weirdest thing, and we were talking about this all night last night at the Super Bowl party that I was at. But Jordan, my question to you is, if San Francisco were to win that football game, would it not be Juwan Jennings that was the Super Bowl MVP for the 49ers?
I don't think so. I'd have to go back and look at the numbers. I think you probably go Purdy, honestly, if they
Listen,
this
this is the reason why I say. Yeah, this is the reason why I say, and let me give you my argument for this as well. Juwan Jennings threw a touchdown pass, right, to Christian McCaffrey, and then I believe, correct me if I'm wrong here, yeah, Juwan Jennings had a touchdown reception as well, 4 receptions, 42 yards, and a touchdown reception as well. So he threw a touchdown pass and he had a receiving touchdown as well. So that's why I make the case for Juwan Jennings to be the MVP if the 49ers win that ballgame.
Oh yeah, well, I was saying if the Niners held on there, just give it to the defense. Whoever
Yeah.
you pick a guy on the defensive line and just give it to him, because the defense was unbelievable. They played great. But yeah, I mean, look, Niner fans, it's not a surprise. Juwan Jennings is a stud. Like but people who don't watch the Niners every week, yeah, absolutely, he came through big time.
And the reason why I bring that up, the reason why I make that point is because in no form or fashion did we think coming into this game that Juwan Jennings was going to be the guy to make all the plays for the San Francisco 49ers. That being said, where was Christian McCaffrey? Why did Kyle Shanahan not draw more plays up to get the ball into Christian McCaffrey's hands? And I know I'm just murdering Kyle Shanahan, and there was a lot of other things that went into this game. But it's a very fair question to ask. Where was Christian McCaffrey? 22 carries, 80 yards, 3.6 yards per carry. His longest was 11 yards. And didn't have a touchdown on the ground, but he did catch that touchdown pass on the reverse from Juwan Jennings, and he ran it in. So that's my question. You get up early and you go away from the run. You continue to try to throw the football, which it wasn't a terrible. You were in the game. I'm not saying you got blown out. Wasn't a terrible game plan. Wasn't a terrible way to play that football game. But I think a lot of people are right to ask that question. Another thing later on in that football game, you get to overtime and you make the decision to take the football in overtime. And now you got to think about it with the new overtime rules. And there was a lot of players that were confused about that. We can talk about that coming up around the corner in the second segment here this morning. But you got the new overtime rules and you decide to take the football. You got to think of it more like the college football game. It's not exactly the same, but you got to think of it more as like the college football game where you probably want to kick now with the new overtime rules because now you get to know exactly what you need to do. You know if you're in third down, fourth down territory. You know if you need a touchdown. You know if you need a field goal. And for the Chiefs, they knew that, this is fourth down territory when they were making those play calls all the way down the field. They knew, hey, no matter what, we're going for it because they knew they had to score or else this game was going to be over. They also knew that if they scored a touchdown, they could end the game versus kicking the field goal. That's why you would go and kick away and go on defense first in overtime now, because you also, no matter if they score a touchdown or a field goal, you're going to get the ball. Both teams get a shot at it. And then it's the third possession that you play for. So say the 49ers go down, score a touchdown. Great. Chiefs go down and score a touchdown. Then they would have that decision there late in the game. All right, the 49ers are going to get the ball back. Are we going to go just kick the field goal and hope that our defense holds them? Or you just go for two at that point. So you could say, now you could look back at it and say, listen, you kick it, you decide to kick to play for that third possession. If that makes sense, you both go score touchdowns or you both go score field goals, then you get the third possession. At that point in that third possession, sudden death begins. If you score any type of points, you win the football game. So by taking the opening kick of overtime, you can say you're technically playing for that third possession in overtime, if that makes sense. That's a little bit of a risk.
Shanahan's sound on that.
That's a little bit of a risk. And you do end up running the risk of that if the Chiefs go down and score a touchdown, say you score a touchdown, Chiefs go down and score a touchdown, they go for two. If they score that, game's over. If you stop them, game's over. So you do run the risk of, hey, you might not even make it to that third possession, if what I'm saying makes sense. We do have some sound from Kyle Shanahan that we're going to play for you here right now, talking about this exact thing, what their thoughts were taking the opening kickoff in overtime last night.
It's just something we talked about with, that none of us have a ton of experience of it, but we went through all the analytics and talked with those guys, and we just thought it'd be better. We wanted the ball third. If both teams matched and scored, we wanted to be the ones who had the chance to go win, and we got that field goal, so we knew we had to hold them to at least to a field goal, and if we did, then we felt it was in our hands after that.
I'm fine with that decision. You're going for the third possession, and I like that decision as long as, if you can hold them to the field goal. I feel like if you score a touchdown, they go down and score a touchdown. If I'm Andy Reid, I'm going for two. 100%. There's no way I'm letting them get that ball back. It's either we lost it because we didn't get the 2-point conversion, or we win it because we ran our best play and we beat them to the goal line on the very last time. There's no way I'm just sitting back and letting my defense go back out there and watching them march down the field to kick a 56-yard field goal for the win. I'm going for two if I score the touchdown and I'm Andy Reid. I don't know about you, Jordan.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. And Andy Reid came out and said that's exactly what they were going to do. That was the plan the whole time, was if they get the ball second, they were not going to kick the extra point to tie the game. And I think if you're Shanahan, you gotta. I'm with you. I don't have a huge issue with his. With that logic, you want the ball third. But knowing Andy Reid, you have to. I would think you kind of are going. Yeah, I think he's going to go for two. So and I agree with you where I would take the ball in the moment when I saw it happen. I thought, all right, well, you give the defense was just on the field for a long time. They're worn out. I get wanting the ball to start overtime. The more I think about it, the less I agree with it because, like you said, if you get the ball second, until you're in field goal range, you're in 4-down territory. You have 4 to get a first down. So I think that is a big advantage.
Exactly. It definitely is a big advantage. And now, obviously, it's always tough being the first team and the first staff to go through it. That's why leading up to it, you got to know exactly what is going on and exactly what's happening around you. One thing that I thought was really interesting was that there were so many players out there who actually didn't know the overtime rules. And we said we'd save this for a little bit later in the program, but we'll talk about this right now because it's relevant to what we're talking about. There were players out there that didn't know the new overtime rules. There were, you imagine going into a Super Bowl, going into the playoffs, first of all, not knowing that there's new overtime rules for the specific playoffs specifically. So different from the regular season, different from whatnot. There's a whole ESPN article right now that is titled 49ers players say they didn't know Super Bowl overtime rules. And this is kind of what it has to say. Well, several Chiefs players and coaches said they had prepared strategy in the event that the Super Bowl went to overtime. Multiple 49ers players admitted that they were not even aware of the rules. Quote, I didn't even know about the new playoff overtime rules, so it was a surprise to me. Niners defensive lineman Eric Armstead said, I didn't even really know what was going on in terms of that, end quote. Sunday night's game was the second of 58 Super Bowls to be tied after regulation. It was the first one played under the new overtime rules that ensured both teams get a chance to possess the ball before the game ends, unless the first drive in overtime ends with a safety, which is really interesting. This differs from the rules governing overtime in the regular season, of course, where the game ends with the first team to possess the ball scores a touchdown. After winning the overtime coin toss Sunday, the 49ers elected to receive the ball, start the extra period, but their 13-play drive ended up in Jake Moody's 27-yard field goal and set the stage for Mahomes and the Chiefs to go down and score a touchdown for the win. Now, the funny part about this was that Mecole Hardman didn't even know that he had won the Super Bowl with that touchdown. So it wasn't just the 49ers who didn't know about the new playoff rules for overtime as well. Mecole Hardman, the guy who scored the touchdown, the game-winning touchdown for the Chiefs, had no idea that he had just won the Super Bowl for the Kansas City Chiefs. And Patrick Mahomes had a little bit to say about that. I believe this was on the NFL Network after the game. This is Patrick Mahomes talking about Mecole Hardman not knowing that they had just won the Super Bowl on that touchdown play.
Back in the set here. Patrick Mahomes. I'll tell a quick funny story, please. A touchdown to this dude at the end of the game. And he looked at me. I said, and he had no idea. I said, dude, we just won the Super Bowl. I'm like, no. He said, yeah, I was like, he celebrate at the beginning. I'm like, what are we doing? Okay. Well, I think you were talking about, okay, yeah, it's time to celebrate now.
What?
Okay, I'm going to start here. Let's talk about the Mecole Hardman side of things. Imagine scoring that touchdown. You're like, all right, there's 3 seconds left. I don't even know if there was 3 seconds left. I feel like the time expired. So even if you thought, if you're going to the end of the period, I don't know what he even what he even thought when it came to that. Like, hey, we're gonna go, like, as long as the time runs out, we win. We got to play a whole nother part. Like, is this soccer where they're gonna play 2 15-minute halves in extra period? I have no idea what was running through that dude's mind when he scored that touchdown and how he possibly did not know that he just scored the game-winning touchdown for the Kansas City Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. I have no idea how this dude did not know that he just won.
Yeah, because the rules didn't change for that. If that had been a regular season game, they would have won the game there. You didn't have to learn anything
Dude was
new
locked
to
in.
know that. Yeah, what? That's insane to me. Like I cannot fathom that. Like I get you're locked in. You want to do. You're focused on your job. How do you not know? Hey, we're down 3 in overtime with the ball. Oh yeah, if we score more than 3 points, we win the game. Like that. What? I'm at a. I seriously, did he know they were in overtime?
Oh
Like
man.
that's my real question. Did he know they were in overtime? Be- because how do you not? Again, that's not a different rule for an overtime period in the playoffs. That's just regular overtime.
Yeah.
If you score a touchdown after the other team possesses the ball, the game is like you win the game. If they, that's what just holy cow. Not doing a lot for the dumb jock stereotype there.
Well, I think that talks a little bit more to the preparation from the coaching staffs. And I think that's a little bit on Andy Reid. I think that's also a little bit on Kyle Shanahan on the 49ers side of things because, listen, and one thing I will point out is that the Chiefs mentioned that they had talked about it ever since training camp. So Andy Reid did talk to these guys. So I'm gonna place this one more on Mecole Hardman for not paying attention. You get paid millions and millions of dollars for just to not pay attention to team meetings. Man, if I'm Andy Reid and I'm the coaching staff, yeah, we won the Super Bowl, but I'm going to him and saying, "Are you serious? Like, did you not pay attention to any of the meetings that we had all season long regarding overtime rules and playoff rules and different things like that?" That is wild. And then on the other side, how embarrassed do you have to be if you are Kyle Shanahan? You lose 3 Super Bowls that you've been in, all of them you've had a lead in as well. And your players don't even know what's going on in overtime. That explains a lot as to what's happening with the 49ers and what Kyle Shanahan has as a play caller, as a head coach as well. That explains a lot as to what's going on with this 49ers team. And we're going to continue to talk about this. We'll take a break here. We're going to come back on the other side. We'll continue to talk about Kyle Shanahan, his record in Super Bowls, and everything following that as well, which is absolutely wild that these 49ers players had no idea what was going on in that football game and in overtime as well. And I think that shows and goes a long way into saying maybe part of the reason why Kyle Shanahan can't win in Super Bowls. We'll talk about that and more. We're breaking down the Super Bowl right here on Valley Sports Talk. I'm Brice Larson. That's Jordan Benucci. We'll be right back on ESPN 960.
Mike Greenberg. Greeny.
The Knicks, for the first time in what feels like a very long time, are an incredibly easy team to root for. That's been the real frustration for me as someone who grew up living and dying with the Knicks for what really felt like a 20-year period. Not only have they been bad, but they were difficult to root for any number of reasons. This is an easy team to root for.
Greeny, weekday mornings at 8, right here on ESPN 960.
Smokey the Bear. Then you know why Smoke tells you when he's too fast and remember.
This box sounds like it's me.
Don't play with
After 80 years of learning his wildfire prevention tips, Smokey Bear lives within us all. Learn more at SmokeyBear.com. And remember,
only you can prevent wildfires.
The USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Gentlemen, listen up. February just got a whole lot more stylish thanks to Odeon Menswear. For this month only, indulge in their exclusive BOGO for $1 sale on men's suits. That's right, 2 incredible suits for the price of 1 and $1. Picture yourself in the perfect suit, tailored to you, radiating that confidence wherever you go. Buy 1 suit, get the second for just $1. But hurry, it's this month only. Upgrade your wardrobe and style at an Odeon Menswear location near you and OdeonMenswear.com. Seize the opportunity to dress your best for less.
Did you know your testosterone affects everything in your system, including how you feel and perform every day? Right now, Revive Men's Health Salt Lake City will check your testosterone for free. Knowing your T levels is the first step in understanding if you have low T. Your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED. Maintaining an appropriate T level can change your whole life. Most men start to see changes in their hormone levels in their 30s. Experience and results matter. So what are you waiting for? Get your T levels checked today by local, experienced, and trusted men's health experts. They've helped thousands of men since 2011. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Call Revive today and schedule your free testosterone test, free exam, and free consultation. Call Revive Men's Health at 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or visit revivemenshealth.com.
Did you miss Cougar sports? Don't worry. You can catch ESPN 960's instant replay from 7 to 9, Tuesday to Saturday mornings on Utah County Sports Station, ESPN 960.
McKinnon is in at running back. First down and goal to go. Play action fake. Right. A 3-yard touchdown pass in overtime. Kansas City wins the game. 25-22.
Mike's hot.
There you go, 25-22, the final score between Kansas City and San Francisco yesterday. That call courtesy of Chiefs Radio. And a great call coming from Kansas City Radio there as well. Great way to finish that game. We were just talking about how Mecole Hardman didn't even know that he had finished that game as well, that game was over, that he just scored the game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl, and that the Chiefs had just barely defeated the 49ers. He had no idea until Patrick Mahomes ran over and had to tell him, said, hey, it's time to celebrate. We just won the Super Bowl. You just won the Super Bowl with that game-winning touchdown. Well, he wasn't the only player on the field that didn't know that the game was over. There were players all over the field. And according to this ESPN article that was written, there were plenty of 49ers fans, 49ers players that also had no idea that that's how the game would end and was supposed to end should these new overtime rules come into effect. And that's exactly what happened, which is absolutely wild. That's why we're going to continue to chat a little bit about this. How can you not have your team prepared mentally? How can you not have your team know the overtime rules, even though they're new rules? This is what you are paid to do as a head coach. Yes, you've got a game plan to put in. You've got all of these things. There's somebody specifically dedicated to your NFL staff who is only over the rules type coach, the rules analyst on your staff who gets these guys ready, that lets them know this is the situation. This is situational football. You do this all the way down to the high school level. Coaches in high school do this. They sit you down. They tell you situational football. They say, listen, if this happens, if you're late in the game, you have the football, the team that you're playing against has no timeouts. Get down because they're going to just let you score. Those types of things, right? Those types of things, the overtime rules, this is how it works. This is what you got to do. Those types of things. An NFL organization and NFL players who are getting paid millions of dollars to play this game don't know the rules and the new rules in overtime. We give them a little bit of break because they are new. It's the first time that they put into effect. But that is exactly the type of thing that you get paid to know. All of those meetings that you go through. Hey, if this happens, if we're in this situation, you've got to understand exactly what's going on. And I'm sure that the coaches told them about it. I'm sure that there's a little bit of a lack of focus because there's so many different things that are getting thrown at these guys day in and day out in team meetings. But it is amazing that half of these guys on these teams had no idea what was going on in overtime. And they get paid to play this game. The quote from Eric Armstead, the defensive lineman for the 49ers, where he says, I didn't even know about the new playoff overtime rule. So it was a surprise to me. I didn't even really know what was going on in terms of that later on. A couple of other quotes from Kyle Juszczyk. Said, you know what? I didn't even realize the playoff rules were different in overtime. Juszczyk said, quote, I assume you just want to run the ball and score a touchdown and win. I guess that's not the case. I don't really know the strategy there. We hadn't talked about it. No. Jordan, as a 49ers guy with Kyle Shanahan as your coach, not having talked about these overtime playoff rules, how does that make you feel?
It's just bizarre because it's so out of character. These guys, like, Kyle Shanahan is a super detail-oriented coach, so it doesn't make any sense. It's just a huge oversight. That can't happen. Now, does it really affect you as a player on the field? Not really. In some instances, yes. Like, if you're, I can't even think of one off the top of my head, but so it's not a huge deal to me. Like, but just the fact that they don't know I'm like, well, come on now. Like, how do you not know that? How have you not gone over that? At least a few times. But yeah, kind of bizarre. I don't know how you don't go over that, especially, and the NFL, these coaches, they are paranoid about going over every situation possible. And so it's totally out of character because usually, Shanahan is on top of that kind of stuff, it seems like. But I don't know, man. I don't understand at the same time. I don't understand how a Chiefs player, if supposedly they've talked about it multiple times, not only I'm at a loss as far as everything. How the Niners don't know, how you don't know the new overtime rules, and how the Chiefs wide receiver doesn't know overtime rules. Period. Not playoff rules, but just overtime rules.
Yeah.
That's wild. Two great teams, two great coaches, great players. I don't know how that happens, man. I get it. They have to prepare for a lot, but still, just really.
And that shows you can go over those overtime rules with those guys as well. And some of them just aren't going to retain anything. They're just not paying attention. It's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'll just know the things that I need to know. You guys focus on whatever. You're the coach. You're the one that's going to just tell me what to do when I'm out there, which is crazy because these guys do get paid a lot of money to know a lot of these things. And a lot of these players that are out there should probably know the overtime rules if they're going to be out on the field, in my opinion. If I am a fan of the 49ers and I hear Kyle Juszczyk say, you know what, it really doesn't matter to me. I just figured, we're just going to run the ball, try to get it in the end zone, go score a touchdown, win the game. Really doesn't matter to me if I know what's going on in overtime or not. That absolutely, that's like unacceptable to me, in my opinion. Every single player that steps out on the field, in my opinion, should absolutely know everything that goes on in overtime. You have to know the rules, the basic rules of the game that you're playing in order to understand the strategy and the reason why you're doing things out there. That would absolutely drive me insane. And I don't know. If I'm the general manager, if I'm the owner of that team, oh man. I don't know if I'd say that I'd go fire him on the spot because he did get you to a Super Bowl. But yeah, he's going to hear a piece of my mind because I'm going to go in there and say, how do you not have these guys prepared for any possible situation? That would drive me absolutely nuts. And that kind of shows you wonder what other things could have slipped through the cracks, what other types of things that these guys weren't prepared for, that they weren't really paying. Maybe they did try to prepare him, and maybe this isn't all on Kyle Shanahan. You got to have the guys that pay attention to you in those meetings as well, because obviously Mecole Hardman on the other side wasn't paying attention in the meetings that the Chiefs had all season long when they were talking about postseason rules, because he had no idea that he won the game, which is absolutely crazy. And I think that's a big storyline in this Super Bowl yesterday, was that overtime rules and everything that was happening there late in that football game. Some other things.
It goes to show you.
Go ahead.
Real quick, it goes to show you though, it doesn't. It's wild to me. I'm shocked by that, but I mean, what's shocking to me, like I said, is that both these teams, they're the two best teams in the NFL, basically, So they got it's like I think that's one reason why I think if you're like as a Niner fan, I'm ticked off about that, but at the same time, I'm not. It's not like I'm going to reprimand Shanahan because first, one, it didn't cost you the game.
Oh, I will.
And two, yeah, well, you got an axe to grind. two, you lost in overtime to Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl, so it's kind of hard to what am I going to say to Shanahan? Like, yeah, I'm pissed off about it, but who am I going to get? What other coach beside, I guess, Andy Reid is going to do a better job? Nobody. So I think that's kind of the I'm more ticked off about if I'm as a Niner fan, I'm more ticked off about the play calling in the third quarter. I didn't have a problem with the play calling except really in that third quarter when they went away from the run. That's really was my one big complaint. Other than that, the defense played phenomenal. I liked, the offense played pretty well, but it didn't. But this is not. I'm not putting this on. Again, I'm ticked off about the play calling in the third quarter, but this is about missed opportunities for the Niners. That's why they didn't win the game. They didn't win the game because they couldn't score a touchdown. They had to settle for field goals and they intercepted a ball in Chiefs territory and went 3 and out, couldn't get a first down. So that's the game right there, is just missed opportunities and one really bad mistake on a muffed punt. That's the game. That's it. Because if you don't muff the punt, Kansas City hadn't been moving the ball all game long. Had not been moving the ball. So you give them the football in the red zone, boom, they score a touchdown. So that's it for me. Is just huge missed opportunities like that, and they cost you in a close game. That's what cost them the game.
Yeah, I would agree with you in a lot of what you said. There was one thing that I would disagree with, and you mentioned about a better coach that could get you there to that point. I do think that there are better coaches in the NFL than Kyle Shanahan. I think Sean McVay is one of them. I think you give Sean McVay all of the weapons and everything that San Francisco 49ers team has. I think Sean McVay wins the Super Bowl. I do think there are better coaches out there than Kyle Shanahan. And that's one thing that I'm going to continue to bring up. I'm not sure that the 49ers, how long their window is going to be open, but you have a team loaded with that much talent. Yes, you absolutely should win a Super Bowl. The GM knew it. That's why he went out and made those trades. That's why he went out and got Chase Young. That's why he went out and got Christian McCaffrey. They knew that window was closing quickly. I think that if you get a different coach in there, it's not Kyle Shanahan. I think it's Sean McVay. I think there's a couple other coaches out there as well, the offensive-minded type of coaches that could win that Super Bowl over Kyle Shanahan. So that's where I'll disagree. But everything else, I do agree with you. There were a lot of missed opportunities. There were a lot of the Chiefs continued to make mistake after mistake after mistake. Muff punts. You mentioned fumbles that dudes could not hold on to the football. Fumbles, interceptions. There were a lot of mistakes made and a lot of opportunities to capitalize on those mistakes. And the 49ers just simply could not do it yesterday. And no, you're exactly right on that.
No, and the Niners on that first drive, moving the ball at will, just gashing that vaunted Kansas City defense, and McCaffrey, who never fumbles the ball.
Yeah,
never fumbles the ball. Fumbles the ball in the red zone. So just it's a stupid game. You're it's just one of those things. It's just it's a weird game. By the way, we have I'm getting texts. Yes, it's okay. Nothing's gonna blow up while I'm in the control room here, and we have a box that's buzzing. So I got some texts. Everything's okay. We're trying to get it fixed. But hopefully nothing explodes. That's yeah.
There's a ticking time bomb ready to blow up over there. Hopefully it doesn't come and blow up and hit me over here in the other room as well. No, but
You make some really good points there, Jordan. And while it's not all on Kyle Shanahan, there were a lot of mistakes made throughout that game and a lot of missed opportunities and opportunities that the 49ers couldn't capitalize on. You mentioned three and outs in a row after Patrick Mahomes throws that interception, and they just cannot capitalize on that. The Christian McCaffrey fumble, just a lot of opportunities went by the wayside for San Francisco in that football game.
And we didn't discuss, but even bring this up, is your second or third best defensive player carrying his Achilles, jogging onto the field. What?
Right. I was going to bring that up. We were going to jump into that one around the corner, but if you want to chat about that right now, we can.
No, it's just that's one that you're just like, man, this isn't our day. All right, like that's just I felt bad. Dre Greenlaw, man, that's just it's one thing to get hurt playing the game, but just jogging on the field and you
the way you
bust your Achilles.
Yeah,
that's just that's heart goes out to that guy.
Yeah, that's definitely tough. We'll continue talking about the Super Bowl. We'll continue breaking it down coming up around the corner as well. We'll take a break here. We'll come back and talk a little bit more about the Kansas City Chiefs with the win 25-22 over the San Francisco 49ers in overtime yesterday. That and more coming up around the corner. Brice Larson, that's Jordan Bianucci behind the glass. As always, we're off on a Monday morning right here on 960 AM, as well as streaming live over on the ESPN 960 YouTube channel as well. So make sure you go and check it out over on youtube.com/ESPN 960. We'll take a break, be back on the other side. More Super Bowl to break down right here on ESPN 960.
Download the ESPN 960 app and take the whole ESPN lineup with you on the...
The thing that we stress was unfinished business.
WAC championship, win a regional, win a super regional, go to Omaha.
But what this weather did not provide is a shadow or reason to hide. Glad tidings on this Groundhog Day. An early spring is on the way.
Swinging a ground ball past the first baseman and into right field. The tying run comes. Here comes Rowe. He is safe at the plate. Utah Valley wins it. That one swung on and hit deep to right. That one's headed for Spanish Fort. It's gone! Runner, a swing and a high fly ball right field, going back is bodily. He reaches up, he can't get it! It's over his head! It one-ups the wall! Here comes Luda around third. He will score into third base with a triple! Is Dickinson, and Utah Valley takes a 6-5 lead!
I hope that these guys remember this season for the rest of their lives and they think of these teammates as family for many, many years to come, and that's what we're hoping to accomplish.
Celebration sale. So stop in, save some money, and help your family stay safe on the road. You'll see we have plenty of tire savings to go around, and around, and around, and around. Check out our tires on sale and book an appointment at leschwab.com. Les Schwab Tires, doing the right thing since 1952. Limited time offer while supplies last. See leschwab.com/sale for details.
This year, Dell Technologies wants to help you do amazing things with their best tech. For a limited time only, save on select next-gen PCs like the XPS 13 Plus, powered by Intel Core processors, and more. Plus, curate your dream setup with great deals on select monitors, mice, and more must-have electronics and accessories. When you shop online at Dell.com/deals, you'll have access to leading-edge technology to match your forward-thinking spirit and free shipping on everything. Again, that's Dell.com/deals.
Are you looking for the latest Big 12 scores and BYU game day news? Download the ESPN 960 app for the new Big 12 scoreboard feature. You'll also get the latest news and interviews from Cougar Sports with Ben Criddle and Valley Sports Talk with Brice Larson. Download the ESPN 960 app from the App Store today. Valley Sports Talk with Brice Larson returns right now on ESPN 960. Get in on the conversation by sending in your thoughts on today's show via open mic submission on the ESPN 960 app.
Just
Mike's hot.
The program. Appreciate you tuning in right here at 960 AM. You can also find us over on the ESPN 960 mobile application. You can stream us live wherever you go. Even if you're out of the range of the 960 AM dial in Utah County, you can take us on the go. You're out there in Reno, Nevada, an extension of the Bay Area. You can definitely catch us on the ESPN 960 mobile app. Thank you for laughing at that one, Jordan. Got the pity laugh out of Jordan Bianucci. You can also find us streaming live on youtube.com/ESPN 960. Head on over there. We've got the ticker going. We've got everything looking nice for you over on the YouTube stream as well. You can see my beautiful face. You can see Jordan there in the control room as well with that box that's about to explode on him.
Oh my gosh. I'm seriously. I'm gonna lose it, man. I'm gonna be I need to be in a padded room after this. I'm losing my mind. The entire show.
Not only that, it's 110 degrees in that room as well. It is extremely hot.
I swear, we have to get this box fixed. I'll do anything. Please.
Please. And the sound coming through to this side as well. We've got the external setup going over here because the studio is just falling apart.
Seriously.
Hey, but
What the hell's going on?
We are still here on a Super Bowl Monday, breaking down the Super Bowl. Despite the external factors, the people who don't want this show to continue on, moving forward, the haters out there, we're just shaking it off and moving forward like Travis Kelce.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, who's in charge? Get our boss James. You want to go body up James Peterson, Travis Kelce style?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh my.
Go and have some words with some people here. No, let's talk about Travis Kelce bodying up Andy Reid. That was pretty crazy when you saw that. Normally, any normal person would say that disrespect is real, that the institutional control on that sideline probably needs to have, a little bit more control over the players and whatnot. No, Andy Reid, after the game, made it a statement, made sure to make it a point to say, hey, these guys are passionate. I love their fire. I love the way that they play and care about this game, and that's why they win. And he's got a little bit of point of that, but you go to any other team and any other sideline, if that happens, you get a player berating a coach like that, dude's getting fined and he's suspended for a couple of weeks there. That's kind of a crazy situation that Travis Kelce could go up and body Andy Reid on the sideline like that and everything's okay.
Yeah, that's Andy Reid, sticking up for his player, not throwing his guy under the bus. But that's unacceptable. Listen, guys it is stressful. It's intense. I understand yelling at a coach, getting into it, that absolutely. Like, I'm not saying you should do it, but I get that. You can't you didn't push him, but you cannot. Yeah, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
Really? That can't. That shocked me. I saw that. I was like, holy cow. If that wasn't the Super Bowl, Brice, he's sitting like the rest of the game to me.
Yeah.
Or sitting for a quarter.
He had a blow up earlier on Christmas Day. He threw his helmet and he did all that stuff on the sideline as well earlier on Christmas Day. So it's not the first time he did this season.
And Andy Reid got on him for that. Do you remember that? He threw his helmet and Andy Reid got all over him.
Yeah.
But yeah, that getting physical there. And I know he didn't shove him. I'm not, it wasn't that bad. But if you touch your head coach,
style, huh?
like that's exactly. We get the National Guard. Call Governor Cox. Get the National Guard in here. I'm like, man. That can never happen. You got to be able to control your emotions. You have to be able to control your emotions better than that. Again, you want to yell at him because he'll yell back at you.
Right.
But you can't touch him.
That is why in Philadelphia they got Big Dom on the sidelines, because anybody does that to Nick Sirianni, and I'll tell you what, he's taking him out. He's taking him back to the locker room and letting him know what you can and can't do.
He's Italian. That's what Italians do.
Man,
Big
you're going to get
Dom.
me in trouble with that soundbite one of these days, Jordan.
It's yeah, that's true. We listen.
I
You're
love it.
anti-Italian. We've said it before,
That
and
is not true.
we Big Dom. Big Dom's not letting Kelsey get near his head coach.
No.
Uh,
And Greenlaw as
no,
well. Picking a fight with Greenlaw on the sideline.
Exactly. Big Dom, by the way, I saw this. He was in Vegas over the weekend.
Oh,
No idea what he was doing, but yeah, Big Dom. There was a Big Dom sighting down there in Vegas.
Very nice.
Yeah, so it looks like we need to get a security guard for Andy Reid over there, so Kelsey doesn't beat the hell out of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just crazy.
You know, one of the funniest things, speaking of bodyguards, one of the funniest things that I saw during the pregame show, one of the funniest comments, you know, there's a lot of talk about Travis Kelce, a lot of talk about Taylor Swift and their whole relationship. Of course, that's one of the biggest storylines of this whole Super Bowl, this whole year. I think it's Boomer Esiason. Is he on the CBS crew? Is Boomer Esiason on the CBS crew?
Yes, he's on the panel.
Yes. So before the game started, they're out there talking. Boomer's out there with them all. And they're talking about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, of course, in the pregame show. And he said, you know what? If he ever decides to retire, this was literally what he said. And I was like, what is this dude talking about? He's like, if he ever decides to retire, he's a big enough dude that he'd be a pretty good bodyguard for Taylor Swift. And I was like, what is this guy talking about? That's like one of the weirdest comments. Yeah, because Travis Kelce's going to become a bodyguard for Taylor Swift after he retires. I just thought it was an interesting comment from Boomer Esiason in a football pregame show there.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Boomer fan. I don't watch any of the pregame stuff, but Boomer, he has his own, radio show and all of that. He's okay. But yeah, what that says, Brice, is that they had been on the air for 12 hours and we're like, what the hell are we going to talk about now?
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what ended up happening right there. So let's continue to talk a little bit about the Super Bowl and continue our talk about, speaking of Greenlaw, I wanted to talk about that torn Achilles. And coming up on the other side to start off the 9 o'clock hour, we're going to talk about how this was the year to beat the Chiefs and that they didn't have a lot of help at the wide receiver position and they were still able to get it done. So we'll talk about that coming up here at 9 o'clock in the next segment. And then at 9:20, we'll go over our predictions, tell you where we were right, tell you where we were wrong, go back over those prop bets, and then we'll wrap it up coming up at in that 9:45 segment. We'll talk a little bit about college basketball. We'll tell you a little bit about what's happening around the rest of sports as well. A little Waste Management Phoenix Open and the shenanigans that went on there. You won't want to miss that. I promise you. There's some funny stuff that comes out of Phoenix there as well. But here I want to talk about that Greenlaw torn Achilles and just the luck that was not on the 49ers side as well. Props to CBS. They had cameras all over that stadium. They had 14 different cameras apparently in the uprights alone. Can you imagine that, Jordan Bianucci? 14 different cameras in the uprights alone just to get doinks and doink cams going.
Hey, I'm all about the doink cam. I've been saying that for years. I'm like, just give us a doink cam here. The camera angles were awesome. They had, really cool shots.
So props to them. They also had a camera on Greenlaw, which probably isn't great for him. That the whole entire nation, 200 million. I don't know what the numbers are going to come out to be, but 200 million people probably watched that Super Bowl. Maybe 150 to 180. And so a lot of people saw his little, I don't even know what to call it, just incredibly bad luck. He's jumping around on the sideline and he's going out onto the field. Instead of just, jogging it out like normal, he kind of gets down and tries to get a good push off the sideline and sprints out there and just tears his Achilles. And you knew it right away. Like as soon as I saw that, I was like, yeah, that's an Achilles. That thing popped. The way that he tore it, when he goes to put his foot down and his heel almost touches the ground, and then you have all of a sudden just that pop and it does touch the ground. The way that happened, very Aaron Rodgers-esque, although it was non-contact. Incredibly bad luck. That is a guy similar to Bo Jackson, who is way too strong for his own body. That is when you know that you are way too strong for your own body. That was the problem with Bo Jackson. That's the whole reason why he had that hip injury where he dislocated his hip, because his muscles are so powerful that the rest of his body, his tendons, his bones, can't keep up with the amount of force generated by the muscles that you have. That's when you know you are an incredibly muscular human being and that you are just way too powerful for your own body. Right there. The force generated by Greenlaw just to step out onto the field and run out onto the field to pop your Achilles like that is absolutely crazy, absolutely wild, and incredibly unfortunate for Greenlaw, and that the whole nation had to see that as well. I don't know that they should see that as a sign of weakness. That's definitely a sign of strength, that you have so much energy that you could generate in your body that the rest of your body can't really keep up with it. That's not normal for a lot of human beings. And that's very similar to what happened to Bo Jackson. Obviously, Bo Jackson didn't tear his Achilles. His hip, what's the word I'm looking for here? Dislocated his hip, and then it popped back in on the tackle that happened. And the force that he generated dislocated his own hip. When he fell back down, he popped it back into place. And that ruined Bo Jackson's career for the rest of his time. So, very similar situation in that way, that his body is just way too strong for the rest of his body. His muscle, he's got so much power and energy that he could generate that you could pop your Achilles like that just running onto the field is absolutely crazy. And it's just, as you mentioned, Jordan, incredibly bad luck, and you just knew it might not be the 49ers day after that happens. That's a run stopper, a guy in the middle that you cannot be without throughout that football game.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that, again, that's when you felt like, oh, this isn't going to happen this time around. Yeah, just so a freak thing like that. That was brutal, just brutal to watch.
Incredibly unfortunate for the 49ers. Big time loss along that defensive line. We'll take a break here. Hour one in the books. We're going to continue our breakdown of this Super Bowl on a Super Bowl Monday as the Chiefs get the win in overtime over the 49ers. Coming up on the other side, we'll talk about how this was the year to beat the Chiefs, because they didn't have any wide receivers that could actually catch the football. They weren't great on the offensive side. Their defense really stepped up and helped them. There were stretches where this team was very, very beatable, and they still managed to get it done behind Patrick Mahomes, behind the great mind of Andy Reid. There was not even Eric Bieniemy that was on this coaching staff as well. They lost Eric Bieniemy, and we could talk about that and more as well coming up around the other side. We'll get into some of those prop bets that we talked about and our predictions from over the weekend. A lot more left to talk about when it comes to the Super Bowl, so stick with us. Hour two coming up on the other side right here on Valley Sports Talk and ESPN 960.
This is Freddie and Harry.
So, Aiden, I'm going to do an impersonation of your coach, Dan Campbell. I want you to tell me how I do. I'm going to put a big dip in my mouth and bottom of my lip. Trust me, man. I love you guys, man. Just trust me. I'm doing everything for you guys, man, because I know how it is.
We have to get that board in there fixed before Saturday, because I'm doing the pregame for SUU.
Weekdays at 1 right here on ESPN 960.
We got to get that board fixed before Saturday, because I'm doing the pregame for SUU.
Yeah,
with Aaron Goldhammer.
We'll let James
as much as I love 28-3 and Brady coming back, I mean, that game was as much about a collapse as it was about what the Patriots were doing. To me, this was about just so much drama on both teams. Not that this was the highest level 10 out of 10 quality. I thought San Francisco's defensive line dominated the game for definitely the first half, if not the first three quarters. The Chiefs somehow won this game without their offensive tackles being able to block, which was incredible to me. Right. I thought San Francisco totally lost their minds and started throwing the ball all over the place when they should have been running it with the best running back in the NFL. I kind of think that San Fran should have made Kansas City take the ball first with these overtime rules. Because then if Kansas City goes down and get the touchdown, they know what they need.
Tax day is coming.
Oh, no.
But if you sign up for Robinhood Gold's IRA with a 3% match, you can get up to $195 for the 2023 tax year.
Oh, yeah.
Sign up at Robinhood.com/boost by tax day to get the biggest contribution match on the market. Subscription fees apply.
Investing involves risk. 3% match requires gold for 1 year from first match. Must keep IRA for 5 years. Robinhood Financial, LLC, member SIPC.
At Lowe's, save big every day when you buy in bulk. Save on bulk purchases of select insulation from trusted brands like Green Fiber. Plus, save an extra 5% every day on eligible purchases when you use your Lowe's business credit card. Visit us for the materials you need, because Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows pros. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase. See sales associate for details. 5% offer subject to credit approval. Exclusions and terms apply. See store at lowes.com/credit for details. U.S. only.
Gentlemen, listen up. February just got a whole lot more stylish thanks to Odeon Menswear. For this month only, indulge in their exclusive BOGO for $1 sale on men's suits. That's right, 2 incredible suits for the price of 1 and $1. Picture yourself in the perfect suit, tailored to you, radiating that confidence wherever you go. Buy 1 suit, get the second for just $1. But hurry, it's this month only. Upgrade your wardrobe and style at an Odeon Menswear location near you and OdeonMenswear.com. Seize the opportunity to dress your best for less.
In its 38th year, Scouting for Food invites you to make a difference for families and children in need in our community by donating non-perishable foods like chili, soups, canned goods, peanut butter, and boxed meals. Scouts will collect donations in your neighborhood on February 10th, or you can drop off contributions until February 29th at locations listed on utahscouts.org/scouting for food. That's utahscouts.org/scouting for food.
Stream us live on ESPN960sports.com. You are tuned to Valley Sports Talk on KOVO Provo, ESPN 960. Valley Sports Talk with Brice Larson returns right now on ESPN 960. Get in on the conversation by sending in your thoughts on today's show via open mic submission on the ESPN 960 app.
Mike's up.
And God, I told you,
Getting hour 2 started here on the program. Appreciate you tuning in live right here on the 960 AM dial. We're also live over streaming on youtube.com/ESPN 960. So head on over there and check us out over on YouTube. You can find us on the ESPN 960 mobile application as well. Just give that to download. You hit play and you can stream us wherever you are on the go. Well, the Kansas City Chiefs defeated 49ers 25-22 in overtime yesterday to cap off the Super Bowl, to cap off the NFL season. And now all we've got is college basketball throughout the rest of February and March. We've got the NBA. I don't know how many people are excited about the NBA at this point in time as well. You're going to have golf throughout the spring and summertime. I think that's a lot of the reason why the NFL dominates a lot of the headlines throughout the sports in the offseason as well. Free agency, the draft, schedule release. You will have college football news coming down the pipeline. It's not going to be as fun as it was last summer and spring as well, because there's just not a lot of college football happenings and movement that are going to happen this offseason as far as conference realignment news goes. I mean, we had a lot of stuff, a lot of back and forth between the guys out west, the Pac-12 falling apart. There was a lot of college football news that we're just not going to have. There will be guys jumping, after spring football, spring camp closes, there's going to be a lot of transfer portal news. A lot of guys jumping back and forth between the transfer portal and different teams in that case, in that sense. Other than that, man, it's going to be pretty dry throughout the summer. So we'll continue to keep bringing you a lot of the news that does break, and we'll continue to entertain you throughout the summer. So stick with us right here on ESPN 960. We'll bring you all of that entertainment. We'll bring you exactly what you need to stay entertained now that some of the football and some of those other things are going to go away as well. Jordan, let's continue to break down the Super Bowl yesterday and talk a little bit about some of the officiating. I'm curious to see from your point of view. I want to start here, get into the officiating, then we'll talk a little bit about why this was the year to beat the Chiefs as well. So my thoughts on the officiating, the NFL officials, the NFL refs in this football game. There were a lot of holds that weren't called, a lot of holding penalties that could have been called that didn't end up being called. The nice thing that I really liked about it was that they weren't calling it on both sides. They were pretty. The one thing you could ask for if you're a coach, if you're a fan, is to be consistent. There were a lot of holding penalties that were not called, and they were not called on either team. There were a couple of different interesting calls throughout the game. I'm not 100% sure that was a catch by, what was it, Kittle, I believe, that caught it and got the first down.
Use check.
It was use check?
Wasn't it use check? Yeah.
One of the two ended up, that catch that they got the first down. He was diving, ball hits the ground and kind of moves. From my understanding, ball's got to survive the ground. Now, there was the argument saying that he took a couple steps and had possession by the time he went down to the ground with it. So therefore, it would have been more of a fumble, if anything. But I would assume that would be the explanation there on that one, is because they said that he had possession of the ball, made a football move, quote unquote, is what they say.
Yeah.
And then went to the ground and lost possession. So therefore, it doesn't have to survive the ground. That one could have maybe used a little bit of a look at it there as well. There was a play where the ball got spotted short of the line of scrimmage when the Chiefs had the ball as well, that could have been looked at. Didn't end up mattering anyway, so I don't have a huge problem with that. And normally I don't take much problem with officiating and referees. Like last year, I had no problem with the call, the pass interference call, or the defensive holding on the Eagles as well. It was holding. So I really felt like the officiating was not too bad for once. I'm curious to see your side of it.
No, I think I didn't notice a ton, which is that's good news. The Super Bowl, I'll tell you what though, it does bother me when when they'll say, well, they didn't call all these holds, but it goes both ways. Well, when it depends on who you're playing, because if you have Patrick Mahomes, that favors Patrick Mahomes more than it does, a couple extra seconds of Brock Purdy being in the pocket.
Sure.
But I look, the Chiefs hold a lot. That's just kind of the MO for them in the league.
Yeah.
But they got called a couple times. I think they missed a couple holds, absolutely. But I didn't have a huge issue with the officiating at all. It does bother me when the NFL, this is what really drives me crazy about the NFL, is they're so worried about the product being good during especially with the Super Bowl, is you'll notice that a lot of times the officials, they let stuff go in the Super Bowl that otherwise you don't let it go. Like, you can't do that. That's
right.
not
some consistency is needed.
Yeah, that's not right. And so that drives me crazy with the NFL, and that people will say that's not true. They call it the same. No, they don't. They do not call it the same exact way as they do in the regular season, because they don't want a bad product when 100 million people are watching. That's just how it goes. That's what the NFL is obsessed with, with their quote unquote product. So that drives me crazy. I didn't know. I thought the officiating was pretty good, as far as, it's hard to tell watching a game in real time on television like that, and assessing it. I don't know what they missed downfield. Like, who really knows? But no, I didn't have a problem with it as far as I saw yesterday.
The one thing that does drive me nuts, and to your point, I am one of those people who can't stand it when refs take games over. So if there were a ton of penalties throughout any one of the quarters or any of the drives or anything like that, where they were just being ticky-tack and calling everything, that does drive me a little bit nuts. So I can understand the point of the NFL saying, hey, all right, guys, let's back off a little bit. Let's not call everything. Let's let a couple things go. To that point, I will say down the stretch in a couple of games, There in games previous as well. I alluded to the holding call on the Philadelphia Eagles late in that game that essentially ended last year's Super Bowl. They didn't. They ended up calling that play or that foul. They ended up calling that penalty, and that ended the Super Bowl. That ended the game. And so they did call that one. But you're right. There is some consistency needed so the players can know what they can and can't do, what they can get away with and what they can't get away with, essentially. And it does drive people nuts both ways. So you got to find a solid balance right there in the middle for the NFL officials and the officiating. I'm happy that they didn't end up being the big storyline of this year's Super Bowl. So I'm glad that they did a good job. I'm glad that it wasn't too big of an issue and that's not what we're spending all of our time talking about here today as well. And instead, we kind of give them their roses, give them their flowers. Those dudes, we looked up how much officials in the National Football League make. Any guess, Jordan, on how much money NFL officials make?
Is it like $100,000?
It's
Am I
like
off there?
$200,000 a year.
Okay.
200,000 to 300,000, depending on how well you do. If you get to the Super Bowl, those types of things. Those dudes make a lot of money. NFL officials, $200,000 to $300,000 a year to be an NFL official. Is it worth the pressure? Is it worth the hatred you're going to get?
Yeah, I don't. They should make more. Honestly, let's get real. Like the NFL is a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, and you need good officials. You have to think about that. Think how important it is to have good officials for the game. So it is interesting that they're not full time. That's what a lot of people don't realize is they have other jobs. That's what's crazy. I guess they could be full time on that salary, but most of them work other jobs.
Yeah, it's really interesting. There's a lot of different situations and scenarios, but I would say there probably are quite a few full time referees because you still got off season things. You got to go to OTAs. Teams need you in practice as well to go and ref and do things as well. So I would think that they do have enough work for them to do full time. And if you're making $200,000 to $300,000 a year, if you're an NFL ref, I think you're doing pretty well. If you're a college ref, I think that's where you start to go, you got to go find other things to do, go find another job, as you mentioned, those types of things as well. But yeah, $200,000 to $300,000 a year for a NFL referee. I bet they get a pretty good bonus if they're called up to the Super Bowl team as well. Some of your best officiating going on there at the Super Bowl. I thought it was fine. I just wanted to make a note on the officiating from yesterday as well. All right. This is the main point I want to make here in this segment. This was the year to beat the Chiefs. Throughout the whole season, they really struggled. There were multiple different stretches where they went on losing streaks. They ended up losing to the Packers and Bills in back-to-back weeks. At that point, you're like, okay, well, what is going on here with the Chiefs? They struggled throughout the season. They lost to the Eagles, the Broncos. When they lost to the Broncos, that was a tough week for them as well. And then they also lost to the Lions there. And then they went on to that. But they went on that run throughout the playoffs, got the win against the Dolphins, of course, at home, the Bills, the Ravens, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, maybe the Chiefs are back. Maybe they're playing some really good football. But if you were going to beat the Chiefs in any given season, this was the year to do it. This was the year to beat the Kansas City Chiefs if you were going to do it. This was the year that they didn't really have a lot of help for Patrick Mahomes on the offensive side. Pacheco's been okay. He's been pretty good at the running back position. When you look at the wide receivers, though, Tyreek Hill's gone. Kadarius Toney's been an issue. You could essentially say he's been a diva all season long, complaining about the organization, saying that he was hurt when he actually wasn't hurt. They said he was a healthy scratch for yesterday's game, essentially saying, listen, you've been such a pain. We're not putting you back out there. After what you said about this organization, we're not going to put you out there. You're not going to play in the Super Bowl. Even if last year you had the longest punt return in Super Bowl history or whatever it was, one of the longest returns in Super Bowl history, even though You helped us out last year to win a Super Bowl. We're going to keep you as a healthy scratch because of what you said on social media about the organization. Everything that's going on with you, we're just going to keep you out, and we'll run it with Sky Moore, and we'll run it with some of these other guys that we have to get the job done. This was the year with all the turmoil, with everything that was happening with the Chiefs, no wide receivers, not a ton of weapons on the offensive side, and they struggled all year long. This was the year you had to get the Chiefs if you were going to do it. I feel like they're going to just reload once again, and they're going to be right back at it next season, and they have a legitimate chance to go for a three-peat with Patrick Mahomes. We'll see how much longer Travis Kelce sticks around. I'm sure he's going to continue to play maybe a couple more seasons. Andy Reid, after the game, said, "Hey, I'm not going anywhere." He said, "Yeah, I don't appreciate Bill Belichick and Pete Carroll for retiring or leaving football, because now he's the one that's going to get all these questions about whether or not he's retiring or not." He said he's sticking around. He's planning on staying around. He's planning on coming back and being the coach of the Chiefs. He's not retiring anytime soon. So you're going to have Patrick Mahomes. You're going to have Andy Reid. You're going to have Travis Kelce. The one guy as well that they missed out on, maybe it hurt him a little bit, was Eric Bieniemy for some quality control types of deals. You got to think Andy Reid's the guy calling the plays. But Eric Bieniemy, being his right-hand man, being the guy that has helped him all throughout this time, could have contributed to some of the reason why the Chiefs offense dropped off just a little bit. But I'm going to blame more of the lack of weapons for Patrick Mahomes on the outside as well. But yet again, they get it done. The defense was that good. Steve Spagnuolo has been great putting together that defense, being able to hold opposing offenses to what they were able to throughout the whole season, just being able to score just enough to get the wins, doing what you have to do just enough to get the win. This was the year that you had to beat the Chiefs if you're the 49ers, if you're really anybody, because I feel like they're just going to reload and they're going to come back and they're going to be right back where they left off a season ago. We'll see if they can get some help at that wide receiver position. I feel like they understand that they have a deficiency there. At the same time, though, you got to look around. You got to look at what the cap is. The cap's going to expand in the NFL as well, once again. So maybe Patrick Mahomes' contract doesn't take up as much of that cap room. So you're going to have some more room to work with. Now, a couple of your best defensive guys are going to come up off their contracts as well. You're going to have to end up re-signing them. It's always a playing Tetris. It's always a puzzle for these GMs to figure out who they can bring back and who's going to help them the most to make another run the next year. I think Jones was on a one-year deal, so you're going to have to figure out that whole contract once again, or just let him walk. Because when it came down to it, you sign this dude on a one-year contract, you come down to it, he's the guy that made the play that mattered the most. I think Deebo Samuel was the wide receiver that was running wide open in the end zone. Brock Purdy put it out there for him to catch it, just completely sailed the ball over the top of his head, and that was all due to Jones getting in there. In the postgame with Chris Berman and Booger on ESPN in NFL primetime, Jones talked about that play, and the one thing he said was, well, as soon as the ball was snapped, I stood up and nobody was blocking me. And all I had to say is God is good. That's what Jones said about that play. Put the pressure on Brock Purdy, and Brock Purdy sailed it over the head of a wide open Deebo Samuel in the end zone. And that might have been the biggest play for the Chiefs of the entire game. You score a touchdown there, that ball game is essentially over, and the 49ers win. Look, when it matters, when it came down to it, players that the Chiefs brought back, that they scouted out and said, hey, these guys are going to be the guys who changed the game. They're the guys who made the plays when it mattered the most. And Jones on the defensive side was one of those guys. Now, they had him on a one-year deal. And that is why I say this was the year you had to get the Chiefs if you were going to do it. They might resign him. They might not. They might go out and find a different guy. We'll have to see what happens and how the Chiefs decide to move forward with this roster. But man, on a quote unquote down year, and I put quotes heavily in that, a down year by Chiefs standards, they still get the job done and they still win a Super Bowl. And we'll see what that means going forward here in the future. And it's going to be tough for them to get back. We'll see, because it always is tough. I'm not 100% sure what, could go on moving forward. The Bills could always be great. The Bengals are going to be back in it as well on that AFC side. It's going to be an interesting ride.
Look, so many things have to go your way to get back to the Super Bowl, just to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
We knew this. They interviewed, there's an interesting interview with Jim Harbaugh over the weekend, and he mentioned this too. He goes, he was at the Super Bowl, and he was talking about getting there. He goes, I love watching these teams because they work so hard, and, you have to be so good to get here. And he goes, but it's not that. He's like, you also have to be really lucky to get to the Super Bowl. Like you do. It's the same in every, I think baseball is maybe the biggest one where weird stuff has to go your way for you to win a World Series. But football, same thing, because you're only playing one game in the play. It's not a 7-game series like in basketball, things like that. So, yeah, I mean, you have to be super lucky. You have to be good and lucky to get to the Super Bowl and win it. And all it takes in football is one injury. It takes one hit on Mahomes, and you're not winning 3 in a row.
Exactly.
So that's the thing, is you just have to stay healthy. Of course, there are already odds for the Super Bowl winner next year, Brice, and the Niners have opened up as the favorite to win it. Yeah, I don't know. I think you're right. You need weapons if you're Mahomes, because I'm not going to bet against Mahomes winning it again, but I don't see it happening unless they upgrade make some serious upgrades for him on offense.
Yeah, I think Mahomes said it best after the game, and he said the Kansas City Chiefs are never underdogs. I think that was a very good point made by Patrick Mahomes. The Kansas City Chiefs with Andy Reid, with Patrick Mahomes, with Travis Kelce are never underdogs. That's a great point made.
And that's what cost the Niners the Super Bowl, is we talked about missed opportunities.
Yeah.
They let the Chiefs hang around. You just let the Chiefs hang around. That is a death sentence.
Yeah.
You have to put them away. It's not like other teams. The Niners can let other teams, you can let the Lions hang around. You can let the Packers hang around. You can't let the Chiefs hang around, because the last thing you want is Mahomes with the ball and a chance to win the game on a drive. It just can't happen. And I think that's how the Chiefs won that game, is they kept it close. Just keep it within reach, and we're going to be all right.
Exactly. That's exactly the game plan for Kansas City. All right, let's take a break here. Coming up around the corner, we're going to get into the Brice is Right. We're going to go back over our predictions for the weekend. We'll talk about what our score predictions were, how close we were with those score predictions. We'll also talk a little bit about some of these prop bets that we threw out there just for fun. We tried to predict what the color of the Gatorade would be, whether or not the quarterback was going to say we're going to Disneyland or Disney World, how long the national anthem was going to be. So we'll go back over some of those fun prop bets and tell you how well we did and how well we did not do, plus the over-under, the score line, everything, all of the above with that as well. That and more coming up around the corner right here on Valley Sports Talk and ESPN 960.
If it's happening, we're talking about it. Ben Criddle will keep you informed on all the happenings in Cougar Country.
Kevin Connors from ESPN, the People's Champ, on the line. So let's get out to the ESPN 960 hotline. Kevin, let's get into that connection with Utah Valley University. When did it all begin?
Brice, we used to do a segment on SportsCenter called Star of the Night, and it was sort of a deal where the producer said, you guys pick someone or something that stands out to you, and we'll give you a minute worth of real estate to kind of tell the story and make it happen. So I'm looking through the college basketball scores. This has got to be 8, 9, 10 years ago. And I see Utah Valley beats BYU. And I had 2 immediate questions. 1, what the heck is Utah Valley? And 2, what is going on in that town, given how big of a win that must have been? So we dig in a little bit, of course, and I find out that Mark Pope is the coach and that this is a great school with a terrific basketball tradition, and it's sort of new to Division I. And so I feature Utah Valley, and Brice, to this day, I still hear from Wolverines fans and folks in Utah about that segment and how much it resonated with them. And it was something that was really, really neat to me. And I've got so many great friends from Orem to this day. It's really been a very, very fun relationship.
Tune into Valley Sports Talk every weekday from 2 to 3 p.m. on ESPN 960 and ESPN960sports.com.
Primo Blade polos, and so much more. Even PGA golfers and collegiate athletes are wearing Primo gear. Listen, do yourself a favor and get online. Type in PrimoGolfApparel.com in that search bar and check them out. That's PrimoGolfApparel.com.
Yeah, so do we know if, like, hey,
Mark,
I'm trying to think of our process.
Is so easy. You can use the mobile app, chat with us online, or call us.
And you ring now to actually what happened.
Miss Little Grace's ballet recital. Oh, thanks for inviting me, by the way.
Did I?
Because you know I'm always here for you.
Yeah. I can use the mobile app if I need help. Sorry.
What about I didn't hear the speech where did mention God or Jesus first?
Tell Grace she nailed her chassé.
Get the help you need from Progressive with our mobile app, online chat, or over the phone. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
4 hours of Cougar football and basketball talk every weekday from 3 to 7 p.m. on Cougar Sports with right here on ESPN 960, Utah County Sports Station. It's the segment you've all been waiting for. Brice gives his picks and predictions of the weekend on the Brice is Right on ESPN 960.
Welcome back into Valley Sports Talk. That's right. It's time for the Brice is Right. Appreciate you tuning in. We're live in our Les Schwab Tire Studios. If you need some new tires, head on down to any Les Schwab Tire location around the Wasatch Front. Still got some winter weather on its way, I think later on this week, and then we're going to get it all throughout February, probably into March as well, even though my good friend Punxsutawney Phil said that we're going to come out of the winter early. I think we're still, you know how Utah is. We're probably going to get some snow throughout March and maybe even April here. So we'll see what ends up happening. So if you need some new tires, head on down to Les Schwab Tires and go get some new tires for the rest of this winter season, and let them know ESPN 960 sent you as well. Appreciate you tuning in. Want to give a shout out to Bout Time Pub and Grub, our title sponsor of the show as well. Make sure you hit up Bout Time Pub and Grub for all of your sports watching needs. You can head on over there. They've got more TVs than they do tables. They also have some really great food, and they're located right across I-15 from Utah Valley University there in Vineyard, right next to Topgolf, right next to Cinemark, or is it the Megaplex? It's a Megaplex right there in Vineyard as well. So head on down. Make sure you check out our friends at Bout Time Pub and Grub. All right, let's talk more about this Super Bowl. Let's jump right into the Brice is Right, Jordan.
That's right. It's time for a Super Bowl Monday edition of the Brice is Right. Here's your host, Brice Larson.
Jumping right into it, we're going to chat a little bit about our picks and predictions that we made back on Friday about this Super Bowl. And let's start with some of the prop bets, and then we'll finish off with our score predictions. And we can get after that as well. So let's start here with the color of the Gatorade, because we do know this one. And there were some that we're still trying to figure out a little bit here and there. What color will the Gatorade be that was poured on the winning coach? I went with orange. Jordan, you went with red, which would have made sense because both these teams were red. You figure, hey, maybe they go with the same color that they are. Maybe they love their red Gatorade. No, it was purple. Purple was the color of the Gatorade that was poured on Andy Reid. Kind of a out of the nowhere color. I wouldn't have thought purple that was going to get dumped on Andy Reid there. That's an interesting pick for Kansas City.
Somebody has inside information because purple was like the favorite as well.
Really?
Well, yeah, it was up there. And so what are the equipment man? Water boys calling Vegas? What's going on?
Interesting.
A little too interesting.
Yeah, that's weird. Because who actually likes purple Gatorade? Do you drink purple Gatorade? I'm always like
No, it's disgusting.
I go with the blue if I'm going to go with any
Gatorade here. So purple's the winner for the Gatorade color there. Quite interesting. I definitely thought it was going to be orange. Let's go with the national anthem. How long will it take for Reba McEntire to sing the U.S. national anthem? The over-under was set at 131. We both went over, Jordan. Guess what? I believe it's 1 minute, 37 seconds. That's an over. So the over cashes on that national anthem. That was pretty easy money for Reba McEntire to go over on that one. Got to think country singer, going to go a little bit longer, a little bit more drawn out of a national anthem. That's a good pick by both of us. Also, let's stick with Reba McEntire. Primary color of her hat. I went with red. Jordan, you went with black. The problem is she didn't wear a hat, Jordan. No hat on top of Reba McEntire's hat. It's unfortunate.
Listen, we could go back. Do you remember on Friday I said, how do we know she's even going? Like, why is there not an option where she's not wearing a hat?
You're right.
Like, why would she wear a hat? So, I don't. I don't get it.
That would have been a good pick. You should have went with the hunch there. You were on top of that one. Should have went with the hunch. Let's talk about Post Malone.
I should have done a lot of things.
Yeah. Post Malone. Will Post Malone mess up America the Beautiful? We thought for sure, whether there were outside issues happening, some external difficulties that maybe Post Malone was going to have. We both went with yes, that he would mess up America the Beautiful. As far as I know, there was no mess up on America the Beautiful, and Post Malone had a clean shot at that song there.
Yeah, I didn't watch it. I'll be honest. I didn't see it. I'll be honest with you.
So we were both on the yes guess there.
If we're, do we know that? Did you watch the America the Beautiful, or did you just look into it?
I looked into it a little bit. Didn't catch all of it. I saw the first, and then I actually stepped outside for a second and then came back in. So I did not catch the full thing. But I figured there would be a video out there, something that I would have seen that told us that he messed it up. So. All right. These last two, I'm not 100% sure on. Will the winning quarterback say we're going to Disneyland/Disney World? And then also the Super Bowl MVP, who happened to be Patrick Mahomes as well. Who did he first mention in his speech? Not 100% sure on the answer on these ones. So we're going to have to do some research before we can give you a definitive answer on whether or not Patrick Mahomes did or did not say we're going to Disneyland, Disney World. I'm pretty sure it was a no on that one. I went no. Jordan, you said yes on the Disneyland, Disney World. And then the who did he first mention in his speech? I'm not 100% sure on this one. We both went with God or Jesus. So I'm not sure if Patrick Mahomes first suggested that he wanted to thank God or Jesus, or maybe it was his wife, or maybe it was his teammates. Not 100% sure.
Yeah, as a Niner fan, shockingly, I didn't stick around to listen to Patrick Mahomes yammer about how God won in the Super Bowl. So, yeah, my bad.
So there you go. Let's talk about the score and our score predictions. Well, we do a little bit more research to figure out whether or not those other two cashed or not. The line was San Francisco -1.5. So that with that bearing in mind, the over-under was also 47.5 as well. So our predictions were as follows. I went with the Chiefs to win 28-24. Jordan, you said 49ers were going to win 27-24. Actual retail price overtime score 25-22. The Chiefs get the win. I will say that's the closest I've been all season long right there on a prediction. That was a pretty good guess.
Did we both take the under, though?
Let's see. 28-24, 47.5. Quick maths on the air. Stalling real quick.
You missed that one. I think I got the under.
Yes, you went with the under. I went 52 and the over. So 25-22. did end up, 47.5. That's bad right there. I won't lie. 47.5. Game was 47, my friend. 47, your final over under. That's crazy. Went under by a half a point at the 47.5 where we picked it. That's almost a bad beat.
Yeah, well, today the big story betting wise is the sports books got killed because it went to overtime. Everything was going their way as far as unders, as far as yards, things like that, all that. And then it went to overtime, and everybody bet the overs on stuff. Everyone always bets the overs. It seems like
more fun to cheer for.
Yeah, exactly. And so the sport, as soon as it went into overtime, those started hitting, and the sports books really they hurt. They got beat on the Super Bowl.
That's tough. I won't lie. That's tough. Overtime is the biggest killer of under anything for sure. Especially when you have a 15-minute overtime and it goes all the way down to 3 seconds on the final play. That thing almost went to double overtime, which, by the way, those of you out there that were also wondering, had to do some research of this on my own. Should it have gone to second overtime? It would have just been like it going from the first to second quarter or the third or the fourth quarter. The field flips. Kansas City retains possession right where they were, and they would have had another couple of cracks at the end zone. So that's why they weren't in too big of a hurry, and they weren't using the timeout that they ended up having there at the end as well. So it's smart of them to go somewhat fast and trying to get that final play off right there at the end, because they didn't want to give the 49ers a chance to regroup and make a game plan with their backs up against the wall between that break. Smart of them to run that play, take a shot to the end zone, because they were going to have the ball just on the other side of the field as well. So that's a little bit of an explanation for that. All right, that'll do it for our final football edition of the Brice is Right of the season. It was a fun season, and I feel like our record was pretty average. Definitely was not above 500. If anything, we were right at 500 or below, if we were to keep a full running tally of the full season. But I feel like we had a pretty good college football and NFL season. I'm sad to see it go. And we'll look forward to the upcoming seasons so that we can be able to pick those and be able to continue to have some fun on that. But that was a good little Brice is Right season there, Jordan.
Yeah, the inaugural season of The Brice is Right. We'll find some other things to lose money on until football starts again, I'm sure. But I'm thinking maybe Korean baseball, the KBO. I'm thinking maybe like the running of the bulls. How many people are gored? Over under 7. That's a high number. I go over under 3 on how many people are gored in Barcelona. So we'll find some things. Maybe some badminton. What else we have going on?
We got some Alabama baseball that we can just call up the coach and ask him what's going on down there.
Yeah, get him on the phone. He's not doing anything now. How about some Summer Olympics in Paris? We'll get going on that.
There we go. Yeah, imagine. Yeah, there we go. Who's gonna win? Who's gonna win the badminton tournament in the Summer Olympics in Paris? Excited.
Is there a flag football team somewhere that we can lay something down on?
Absolutely. There is. There's always something to bet on, whether or not.
But you do know that we could bet on we're not going to because we're not degenerates, but the UFL. That's true. You got football. You have the United Football League coming up. There are going to be some lines on those games.
Oh yeah, they specifically make it a point to put the line, not just not just at the sports book, not just on ESPN.com. They put that right on the TV broadcast for you, and they track that thing the whole game. So they are really leaning into the betting aspect, which is a great idea by them, because a lot of the reason why the NFL, the MLB, all these different professional sports leagues, their ratings have been up over the last season is because sports across the board has been legalized in a lot of different states. And so the UFL is great. XFL, USFL, the merger between the two. If they put that back up there on the TV broadcast, that's definitely playing into their audience, because people, the only reason why they're watching it is because they're throwing some bets down and they just want to feel something, right?
it's really true because you don't have an attachment to any of those teams. Yeah, I just a lot of gambling addicts, I'm afraid, out there, and that number is only going up.
There we go. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back on the other side, and we will wrap this bad boy up. Our final thoughts on the Super Bowl, and then I also want to give you some thoughts on some college basketball and some notes on the Waste Management Phoenix Open that happened over the weekend as well. So that and more coming up right around the corner. Don't go anywhere. We're wrapping it up on the flip side. Valley Sports Talk and ESPN 960.
Are you on the go? Take the Valley Sports Talk podcast with you. Brice Larson breaks down the latest breaking news happening with Utah County sports and brings you insider information you won't want to miss. Download the Valley Sports Talk podcast now on Spreaker, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you get your podcasts.
SLAM, the Salt Lake Academy of Music, provides K through 12 youth with musical instruments, instruction, programs, and opportunities on a free-to-fee sliding scale for all styles of music. SLAM student bands perform statewide at venues, festivals, fairs, and special events year-round. For more information about SLAM lessons, programs, and scholarships, call 801-577-BAND or visit slamslc.org on the web.
Americans for Prosperity Utah is laser focused on one thing, reigniting the American dream. During the 2024 Utah legislative session, AFP Utah is working hard to get lower taxes, ensure students have access to the best education, utilizing the free market to increase available housing, and removing unnecessary barriers for those wishing to work in their desired profession. But they can't do it alone. Find out how you can help. Go to prosperityelevated.com. AFP Utah, helping you make your voice heard. Sponsored by Americans for Prosperity Utah. Gentlemen, listen up. February just got a whole lot more stylish thanks to Odeon Menswear. For this month only, indulge in their exclusive BOGO for $1 sale on men's suits. That's right, 2 incredible suits for the price of $1 and $1. Picture yourself in the perfect suit, tailored to you, radiating that confidence wherever you go. Buy 1 suit, get the second for just $1. But hurry, it's this month only. Upgrade your wardrobe and style at an Odeon Menswear location near you and OdeonMenswear.com. Seize the opportunity to dress your best for less.
Tax day is coming.
Oh, no.
But if you sign up for Robinhood Gold's IRA with a 3% match, you can get up to $195 for the 2023 tax year.
Oh, yeah.
Sign up at Robinhood.com/boost by tax day to get the biggest contribution match on the market. Subscription fees apply.
Investing involves risk. 3% match requires gold for 1 year from first match. Must keep IRA for 5 years. Robinhood Financial, LLC, member SIPC.
Can I get a weight reading on the cat in exam 3?
Zuri needs a new vet tech after their current one literally moved to a farm.
Tail checkup is waiting.
But finding an ideal replacement takes some training.
This is like herding cats.
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Schedule virtual interviews and talk to candidates right from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-326-7765 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-326-7765. That's 800-326-7765. What do you have to lose? Call 800-326-7765. Again, 800-326-7765.
Listen to Valley Sports Talk with Brice Larson every morning from 8 to 10 a.m. on ESPN 960. Valley Sports Talk with Brice Larson returns right now on ESPN 960. Get in on the conversation by sending in your thoughts on today's show via open mic submission on the ESPN 960 app.
My socks.
Monday morning. Pretty much spent the whole entire episode, all of today's show, talking about the Kansas City Chiefs and their win 25-22 over the San Francisco 49ers in overtime yesterday. And we'll continue to talk about this the rest of the way throughout this week. And we'll continue to give you our thoughts and the rest of the news that comes out of the stories from this Super Bowl. Just like how we found out that the 49ers and some of the Chiefs players had no idea what was going on in overtime. They didn't understand the rules. We broke that down. So if you missed any of that, that was early on, one of the first segments here of the program. So you can go back on the Valley Sports Talk with Brice Larson podcast and make sure you download the podcast. You go listen to that whole conversation that we had. A lot of insight coming from ESPN.com on that one. So make sure you head on over there to check it out. To finish it off, we're going to give our final thoughts here on the Super Bowl, and then we'll jump into some of the other news and notes from around the country, talk a little college basketball, and then I also want to tell you what happened at the Waste Management Phoenix Open this past weekend as well. Some crazy shenanigans happening here in this final segment. So my final thoughts here on the Super Bowl. The Chiefs get the win 25-22, and I mentioned we'll continue to give our thoughts on this throughout the week. So it's not our final thoughts, just final for today. And I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier on in the program. This was the year to beat the Chiefs because they were down on the offensive side. They only scored 25 this year. You could tell they struggled. They definitely had their struggles on offense. They continued to make mistake after mistake. You couldn't capitalize on those mistakes. I like that point that Jordan said. Not much about the coaching, not much about the different things. The most blame goes on the execution and the inability to capitalize on the mistakes that the Chiefs made. It's not often that the back-to-back world champs make those types of mistakes. You had them in the corner. You had them up in the first half, and you just could not get the job done. I do lay some blame on Kyle Shanahan and say that they should have rode Christian McCaffrey, especially when they were up early in that game. Christian McCaffrey kind of just faded away into the background. You got to ride your stars. You got to go with your guys throughout that football game, and they just weren't able to do that. So that's my closing remarks. That's my final thought on the Super Bowl for today, but we'll continue to chat about this throughout the rest of the week. Jordan, before I move on to other topics here, wanted to get your final thoughts on the Super Bowl. Was there anything that you wanted to mention about this Super Bowl?
No, and we don't have to talk about it the rest of the week. We can move on. That'd be fine. Like I'm done.
Jordan's ready to move on.
Let's move on. Catchers and pitchers report in a week. Let's yeah, I'm good. I think everybody's had enough. Let's move on. Now on the game, I think I'll have more things all week. I'm sure I'll come, things that'll keep me up at night. That I enjoyed. How'd you grade the halftime show? I thought it was pretty good. I didn't mind it.
Yeah, I didn't mind it either. I didn't pay too close attention to Usher and the things that were happening there at halftime. But yeah, I mean, it was all right. It wasn't the best one that I've seen, but it wasn't the worst one either. So I didn't mind it.
Yeah, it was kind of visually, it was kind of cool looking. But I tell you, I'm not a huge halftime. I realize watching it, I'm like, you either got to get somebody good, like a huge, it's got to be great, or let's just get back to playing the second half because it's such a long halftime.
It is so long. It is so long.
Bowser out there, man. Get Bowser out there, and I'm good. But if it's not Bowser, let's move on.
I'm so glad you brought that up because there was another halftime. Let's talk some college basketball. BYU and Kansas State. The halftime for BYU and Kansas State, Jordan. I was gonna message you. The BYU dunk team went out there and did halftime, right? They were dressed up as Spider-Man. So they were all dressed up as Spider-Man, and then right in the middle of them doing the dunking, they stop it. They play the Spider-Man meme. I don't know what the music is to that Spider-Man meme where they're all pointing at each other because they're all Spider-Man. And then all of a sudden they started fighting each other. So we get into some LARPing. We are live action role playing as Spider-Man at halftime of the BYU game here. Cosmo comes out and they start fighting Cosmo. I thought we were doing a dunk team here, guys. Then they start doing a little bit of what's the surprise dance, the flash mob? Yeah.
Flash mob, yeah.
They flash mob on the court, and then they finish off with some more dunks. And I was going to text you and say, there is LARPing going on at the halftime show of BYU and Kansas State. You would have loved it. You would have loved it.
Oh my gosh. That's yeah. They're just knocking it out of the park every week. You know my favorite part about the dunk team, and by favorite it just cracks me up, is I like when they're like hyping each other up and like trying to hype the crowd up. And I get it, like it I get it. But just come on, guys, just dunk the ball. Like do your flips, dunk the ball. I'm not going to stand up during halftime.
Yeah.
But cheer you on. Like that's my favorite part of the dunk team, is when they are like, yeah, let's get, what a dunk. You're like, yeah, it's a like you've been rehearsing that dunk. Like they act like they're surprised the guy did a flip and dunked it.
Yeah.
Boy, that's good though. More great stuff to look forward to this football season at LaVell Edwards Stadium.
Oh man, you would have loved it. Between that, and I don't know if you saw the social media video going viral of the kid just absolutely crushing a cougar tail. Did you see that?
Oh, I saw that. Oh my goodness.
I quote tweeted it. I quote tweeted it on Twitter, and I said, "This is the BYU version of somebody crushing a beer on the jumbotron." It's a 12-year-old kid just downing a full cougar tail. I've never seen anything like it. It was crazy.
Oh, what he was doing to that cougar tail is against the honor code. I'll tell you that right now. I watched part of it and I was just like, I can't do this. I gotta move. I gotta keep scrolling. I can't. That is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen.
If you don't know what we're talking about, go find it on Twitter. It's all over. Just search that kid. Yeah, man. He murdered a full cougar tail and almost threw up. He had to call off the dogs. They kept that camera on him. He was waving them off. Turn it away. He had a mouth full of cougar tail. He called it off. We were yelling Bruce. You ever see Matilda? Or was it Matilda? I think it's
yeah,
Matilda.
Yeah.
Where Bruce is eating the chocolate cake. We're up there yelling Bruce, 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 Bruce. Man, it was a solid time. Like that kid just murdered that cougar tail, and he almost threw up. I think he almost threw up on the jumbotron.
It's been healthier to chug a beer as a 14-year-old. That I can't get over that one, man.
That is so
those
funny.
cougar tails. What has happened? Why is the cougar? I know we got to get to other stuff, but maybe we don't. The cougar tail I love a good maple bar. The cougar tail doesn't really do it for me. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I know that's sacrilegious to say that in cougar country,
Utah County, man.
but exactly, yeah. But I'm not a huge cougar tail guy. But people, I've said this before, Brice. If I see another person at a BYU sporting event having a cougar tail with milk, I'm gonna lose my mind.
At 9 a.m.
Like that makes
9 a.m. kickoff.
at not. Yeah, when I saw it this year, it was like during September, so it's 90 degrees, and you're drinking milk at a sporting event. Like I almost threw up just seeing that.
Oh man, there you go. That's a good breakdown. I don't mind a good cougar tail every now and then. Just like Carlos Zimmerman, I know he enjoys a couple of cougar tails here and there. Maple bar, not bad.
I'm gonna probably go tail.
There you go. Good job. There's Carlos.
He does. He loves the cougar tail.
All right. Final thing I do want to talk about here before we say sayonara. The Waste Management Phoenix Open happens every single February down in Phoenix. Yes, it's that golf tournament. It's raucous. It's rowdy. The 16th hole is the greatest hole in all of golf, where they put the stadium seating around it. People camp out to go and be at the 16th hole during this golf tournament. And it turns into the biggest party in all of golf. The one thing I will say, there were so many people that were trying to get in, they could not stop everybody to scan all of their tickets. This was the very first issue that they had. Everybody just rushed just rushed the gates and got through so they couldn't scan people's tickets. So that's the first issue that happened here over the weekend. Next thing, there were so many different people there because they couldn't scan the tickets and keep the crowd under control. They shut down the alcohol sales at like 1 p.m., Jordan. They had to shut it down because there were so many people out there. Apparently, they were going to change the name to the Wasted Management Open because there were so many people out there walking around just foolish. Thank you. I was waiting for that. Just walking around. They could not keep this place under control. So that tells you a little bit about what was going on at the Waste Management Open over the weekend. One of the best golf tournaments, one of the only golf tournaments, I'll be honest, that I tune into. And I was watching a little bit of it. It was a good time. There was a lot of people having a great time. Although I would say the crowd, not as great as they usually are on the 16th hole. There was a lot of booing going on. I was shocked about how often they booed those dudes. Those dudes were putting it on the green and they were still booing them. I don't know. I don't get it.
That's not good golf etiquette.
That's not very nice.
I'm shocked that the behavior at the Waste Management Open was a little below what we were expecting it to be. That's just shocking to me that it was not an Augusta type crowd at the Phoenix Waste. What was it, played at like a municipal course? Well, I mean, we're all shocked that people had a little too much to drink at the Waste Management Open. At that prestigious event where Jim Nance, as always begins, "Hello, friends. We're here live at the Waste Management Open."
That's right. That's the best tournament in all of golf right there. The Waste Management Open in Phoenix. The 16th hole is a hole you have to experience no matter what you do.
30 seconds.
All right, let's get out of here. Appreciate it. The Chiefs get the win, 25-22. We'll continue to talk about it all week long. If you missed any of it, Valley Sports Talk with Brice Larson podcast, wherever you get your podcast. We'll be right back here, same time, same place on ESPN 960.